Well, here we are. I'm just here to really explain why they fail. It's really the reptilian mind versus the human, the beautiful God mind that people can have through being human and through having a soul. The reptilian is, speaking about abominations, is an abomination in a sense. It's an abomination in the sense that that everything they do, everything they think of, for example, military uniforms, rote, command and control, brute force, bludgeoning people, forcing them to do what they, part of the feeding of the reptilian is to force their will on others. And because we can't see that, it shows that we're like Plato in the cave. All you see is the images on the wall. You don't know what real reality is. We don't know what it really is. We just see reflections. So we can't rely on our senses to know. We have to rely on that. People say the gut. Well, it's where God dwells within a person, and if God dwells within you, then you know all things. Even when they did the Series V, they were reptiles. They were Nazis. They had epaulets. They wanted to control humanity. It's all been very, very, very clear. Very clear. To say this doesn't exist today makes you a real fool. Like guys that go and start citing books of psychologists and stuff to prove it's all, basically false memory syndrome. It's not false memory syndrome. Tom Mack proved that. Not Tom Mack, but what's his name? Mack, the psychiatrist from Harvard. What was his name? You remember. He proved it was all real. Anyone who's ever studied the Antarctica knows it's all real. It's all real. And everything is a deception. Everything's a lie. Everything in school is a lie. Everything all the textbooks are lies. Everything that's that's in existence pretty much is a lie. So how do you see through it? Because the human is more intelligent than all the textbooks combined, which are mainly propaganda. But the war is really with God, for the reptilian. The war, the real war, the militaristic, the use of fuels, nuclear bombs, is all reptilian. The reptilian mind is this rote, brute force with complete lack of any kind of intellectual prowess, any kind of nuance, subtlety. A reptilian would never know anything about beauty unless somebody explained it to them or said, "Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, okay, I'll go buy that for my mansion." Right? They'd have to have a consultant to have beautiful things, to sort of imitate the humans who know such things. So they can do about anything they want. But guess what? What they want is controlled by God. The big mistake is the brute force, bludgeon into conformity, that sort of totalitarianism. All that comes from the lizards. People are not like that. People want freedom. Everybody wants freedom. The people that sign on to that just have been mind controlled and beaten down so much they feel like, well, I can't get a paycheck or pay my family unless I bow down to the lizards. And there aren't any lizards. They don't exist. I won't even mention it. I just, get in line with the way things are going and with my group around me and what they're doing. I'm monkey see, monkey do, and then maybe I'll be okay. I'll slide by. Nobody slides by. Everyone's going to be judged. It's going to be like, well, what did you do? But you see, God works subtly and in strange ways, like through them, and gets them to trip themselves up by using brute force techniques to bludgeon people into conformity. Spiritually, they can't do it because they know right now it would fail. Now, the people need to be more than patriotic. They need to be more than just spiritual. They need to understand, what the enemy is. And they need to understand the oracles of God reveal the depths of Satan. So if you don't know the depths of Satan, you don't know the oracles of God, then you need to get deeper into God to get knowledge, because you need a word of knowledge to be able to comport yourself in this world. You need to understand who the enemy is. You need to understand they don't just come in the form of witches with little capes. They're also in the air. They're also in the vents. They're right next to you, crawling along the floor like these little creatures. But you can't see them. They don't want thinkers or individuals or individual thought. It's all collective, group thought. And everything about the people that join them, the humans that sign up, they all become collectivists. Notice that? They push communism. They push socialism. They want to be on top. And they want to put a dictatorship, everyone under it. And when they do that, people rebel. And these people that serve them, the Larry Finks of the world that serve the reptilian agenda, are basically wanting to, get rid of biological life on Earth, all carbon life. This whole drama is because God made man in his image, meaning the highest high of the highest potential of human is tabernacle of God territory, something that they could never achieve. And they'll never be. They'll never be loved. They're hated. And they're worshipped by the elites because the elites worship money. To get more money, you need to worship the reptile, the lizards. You have to worship them to be, they're the ones that choose people. They're the ones that put people in power. They're the ones that decide who's wealthy and who isn't. To the Lord, they're an abomination, whereas the human has various subtleties and various aspects, wonderful aspects that are like layers and degrees of understanding and shades of color and beauty and knowledge and the knowledge, and it has the capability of knowing all things. The reptilian does not have the capability of knowing all things. The intelligence of the human is not in the brain necessarily. The brain is there and adequate for the human's use. The intelligence of the human is really in the heart. It's really located in the solar plexus area. And that's where the knowing occurs, and that's where the intelligence occurs. And the consciousness is linked up with all the other humans and all the other, everything in God's creation, so that a human doesn't have to carry a big head. The big head is a sign of retardation. The big head is a sign of unintelligence. The big head is the sign of, it's like an Esau sign. I don't need God. I got all the intelligence I need. Look, I got a big head. Right? And still they can't fathom what's going on. No capability of observing anything. They're just taking up space. So to God, there are useless eaters too. People that when you put it right in their face, they say satanic panic, proving they're liars, reprobates, and a blight on humanity, proving they're the enemy of all that you see. They're Antichrist. Antichrist simply means the enemy of humanity. Christ is life. Antichrist is death, or death cult, anti-life. It's really so you want to, if you want to maximize your joy, maximize Christ and minimize the Antichrist within you, within your person, within your lifestyle. And then eventually you have taste for things that live.